Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon of the Chabad House of Dalmar, and we have a very special guest with us today, Haim Ben-Eliezer, I should say retired Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel Haim Ben-Eliezer. Haim, welcome to the Jewish View.
Okay.
You know, Haim, it's very interesting from Israel that you're the Lieutenant Colonel now in the American Army, the Israeli Army, and you could always read things in books and stories, which of course I have, and many people have heard about all the different miraculous wars, we should say, in Israel. But it's one thing reading a book and one thing getting the first-hand opinion of what's happening. So really, you're a little bit older. You went through really all the major Israeli wars. So we wanted to have come on to Jewish View and tell us firsthand exactly what happened and the miracles that actually you have seen in the Israeli war. So tell us about your service in the Israeli army.
Well, the first war I actually joined as a soldier was the 6 Days War. And I became an official soldier like a month after I became a soldier, the war started.
Really? So you were already...
Yeah, but I graduated the military school before that, so it was kind of continuation to be a soldier. It was not just a big difference. But this was a miracle. That's just unbelievable in 6 days to beat so many armies, beat them up. And
where were you specifically?
I've been basically in maintenance. I've been a tank, a Sherman mechanic. I did certified Sherman mechanic. And
now the Israelis have their own kind of tanks,
yeah,
right? But beforehand it was all America.
They changed a lot. By then we have the old Sherman. And I was sent to Sinai to fix tanks, and the first time I saw all kind of dead soldier was just frightening to see that. But that was a miracle. But we don't forget one thing. 6 Day War was a big miracle, no doubt about that. But we also lost over 800 soldiers in that 6 days. And I think that every loss is 100% loss for the family who lost their
I remember I'm from Chicago, and I was, watching it in every newspaper and every television report, what was happening. And, it was scary for us, even, Jewish people obviously cared about what's happening in Israel. But I remember so many years ago, one new, commentary on the TV said, they after the war was such a great victory, like you say, such a great victory for such a small country, such a great loss also for such a small country. So on one hand, you say 800 people, America loses, in the Iraqi and Afghan, not even a real quote unquote war, a conflict, and and they're happy about it. Hey, that was a great victory. But I mean, it's part of the psychology of the Israel that even one person, it's really a Jewish concept, that every person's a moli olam, that's a full world.
That's exactly
and,
so.
So therefore they cannot bear even a small loss. People would say small loss, but really, like I'm saying, it's a great loss.
Every soldier that we lost, it was the whole world. I mean, that's the biggest, I don't know the weakness, but that how we see it. Every loss is just the whole world, and all the countries mourning this loss. This is terrible. Yeah, but if you look at the big picture, it's first of all, it's a big miracle, no doubt about that. It's not just we're strong and we can do it. It was a miracle because it's unbelievable. But I think that we've been overconfident also over this miraculous victory, because we thought, hey, we're so strong, nobody can get us. And the next war was Yom Kippur War.
Which was only 6 years later, just for the viewers, 1966 to
1967, and the next one was 1973.
So just 7 years
7 years later, we had the worst war with Egyptian, and then Syria joined this war. Jordan was smart enough not to join the war, so basically it was between Egypt and Syria in the north. Also, they started the same day, and they choose Yom Kippur. But
You try to hit people below the belt. I mean, just again for our viewers, Yom Kippur, everybody's fasting. So how can you
Right.
fight a war when you're fasting?
That's not only the problem. First of all, we didn't read it right. I think the intelligence wasn't accurate. Because I remember a week, like Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur, I was on duty on my base in Sinai. I served in Sinai in the days. And my wife and my son came just to visit, to spend the weekend with me. And they went for a trip to the canal.
Suez Canal, just
to the Suez Canal, yeah. And the Suez Canal was very narrow, actually. You could see the other side of the canal very easy. And my wife came back and she said, I don't know, something look fishy there because they wearing the bulletproof jackets and fishing. It never happened before, so it was kind of weird. And they decided to open the war Yom Kippur because a couple of reasons. First of all, on Yom Kippur in Israel, there's no TV, no radio, no any communication open.
interesting.
And because of that, the majority of the Israeli army is in reserve, because the regular army is a small army, but the most of it in reserve. And the way you call people come from home is by TV, passwords, on the radio passwords, telephones. In Yom Kippur, you don't have all of those, so that make it twice as difficult to bring the people, the soldier, to their base, get organized.
It was good intelligence for the Egyptians.
Right,
I mean,
they
that
knew
was
exactly
smart,
what
yeah.
to start. And I served in that day in Sinai, in my base. It was a transportation base. We have like 400 huge trucks for transportation. Was a kind of tension that day. Nobody left the base. We have a bad feeling that something is cooking there. And at 2 o'clock exactly, the war started at Yom Kippur at 2 o'clock. The first Egyptian airplane come toward our base, attacking us. The
You were
first
right
one.
at the front.
And we've been there, and I'm looking up. I was with my commander on the outside, and this MiG coming down toward our base. I'm looking at it. I didn't recognize it, the MiG. So I said, "What, Yom Kippur? We are training air." So my commander looked up and said, "Idiot! This is a MiG!" And we start running, and all the soldiers start taking some shelter somewhere. And he come down, and he missed the base. He threw a bomb, and he missed it. He was more scared than us, I guess, and he just missed it. And that when the war actually started. It was scary.
So you were really at the front. The first
Oh, yeah.
shot was.
What
really
they needed,
very
what they wanted to do, the Egyptian, was also very smart. At the place where I was stationed, called Bir Gavkafa, Refidim in Hebrew, and in Refidim was the logistics center of all the army in Sinai. We have the transportation, the food, ammunition, airport, everything was in Refidim. So they said, okay, the first thing we have to destroy is the logistic. If we destroy the logistic, the rest of the soldiers are not going to have any supply.
Sure. It's a smart
Good
move,
thinking,
yeah.
good thinking. But again, I would say here a miracle. I don't know why they didn't do it, because very small soldier, a very small army was in this area in this time. As I said, the reserve military, the first one. That
It's far off compared to Israel. You're in the Sinai
Yeah.
Peninsula, and they're home in Tel Aviv, and the main
But-
part of Israel.
But I think also we have a big distance from the Canal Suez to Bir Gavgafa, to Refidim. It was like an 80 kilometers.
Some
And also
50
we have
to
some,
50
we have,
miles,
yeah,
just
we have
for
some
people
soldiers that
miles.
basically we lost there a lot of soldiers in this area. But somehow they stopped them moving so fast toward us, and that gave, I guess, enough time to bring the soldier, get him ready, equipped, and come back and start pushing them back. Ariel Sharon in that time, he did a move that basically turned all the war around, and there was a second army, the Egyptian second army, that was surrounded, and they couldn't do nothing, and the Israeli was around them, and they said, if you keep on going, we're going to kill all of these guys, because they couldn't do nothing. And did a move against the order he got on a speaker, don't do that, and he ignored. He got in trouble for that later on. But the move he does was actually he saved the country. You can say it like that. And that basically was.
I mean, there's also logistics that I know that that this starts with in France. France had the Maginot Line because there was World War I and they knew Germans are their enemy.
Right.
So they put a line of a defense line in Germany. Well, first of all, it wasn't finished, number one. Number two, the Germans went north around Belgium, and so it was a failure. So in any case, Israeli, you can tell us about it, the military tactics didn't learn from it. They called it the Bar-Lev line. They also put a line. I know the Rabbi was against that, telling them, that didn't work in France, and all you have to do is punch through the line, and that's which they did. They punched through the line, and then they're almost home free. I mean, for them, it's home free all the way to Tel Aviv. There was no secondary to back up the forces.
We could not believe that anybody can go through Bar-Lev line.
It was a big line?
It was across all the Canal Suez. I mean, it was a huge. We called it like Maginot Line, exactly the one.
Maginot Line.
The one you're talking about, and that's why we didn't have a lot of army in that line. Every post have a couple of soldiers.
They just figured a line will hold.
Yeah, they're not. But the fact is that that doesn't happen. And what they did, they came with actually water. Just with water, with pressured water, they took down the sand. Was a kind of
the banks of the line.
Yes, just with pressure water, took it down and just took
really?
over.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
That's how they went through the line?
Yes, that's what they did. They did it in many places. You cannot control all the places. That actually they did. They came with pressure water, and they took all the bank down and they could go through. And
that's interesting. I didn't know how they went through it.
That's what they did. And
really, they're home free in Tel Aviv.
Nothing was between them. No, they could just run in. But again, I believe it was a miracle, because I can tell you that I have a couple of moments that you didn't know if you're going to make it. Because you hear on a speakers say advancing, and more being killed and coming close where we are. A lot of pressure. And actually an helicopter with Egyptian commandos soldiers were taken down like half a mile from our base. It just came down. They want to take over. It was, but we all know the end of this war. But we also lost about 2,500 soldiers in this war. It was the worst. But again, after that, everything was stabilized, and I was moved to a new base in Egypt behind behind the Suez Canal. It was an Egyptian base, and I was in maintenance in that time, so I was a commander of a big maintenance center, and we took over an existing Egyptian base. The first time that I saw a fireplace with a chimney, we never saw that thing. No, we didn't. We need in Israel fireplace. It's the first time we're going there, so I put all my commanders right in this room with a fireplace. And there are more rooms in that building, so the other soldier lived in other rooms. So we found wood somewhere, and he put the wood into the fireplace. He went to sleep. In the middle of the night, everything was with smoke. Almost got killed, all of us. We have to run out.
Because you didn't open it up.
Yeah.
You didn't know how to deal with a chimney.
The problem in Sinai was also, we start living there, okay? So there was kind of, they call it the Sweetwater Canal. There was the Suez Canal, and beside it was, they call it the Sweetwater Canal.
Something you could drink, you mean?
The locals was... And they have chickens running freely and all over. So we got tired to eat all the military food all the time. All the time the same thing. So I said, "This guy, at least we can have fresh eggs. Let's take some chickens. They're free. Let's put him in a chicken house, and have every morning have at least eggs." I said, "All right." So before we know, we have maybe 50, 60 chickens there, and every morning we're collecting the eggs. And our cook say, why can't we have like a good chicken? So, but everybody said, don't touch this because there might be cholera. They drink from this water. It's dangerous.
Cholera,
it's dangerous. So I decided to send my cook with chicken to Israel to check it out. There was institutions that can check it. So we went up to the aeroplane with a chicken in his backpack, and he started, and he was afraid somebody going to find out that there was a chicken in the airplane. Anyway, he made it, and like a week later, we got a letter from the institution. He said, Betavon, it means bon appetit. Bon appetit. We started eating chicken every day. But that was the life then. And once we crossed the Suez Canal, we've been stopped by America on the 101 kilometers, they call it. And then was the peace talking, and Kissinger stopped us there. America got involved into it. That basically was the end of the war. And the life...
Another chapter in your life. What about Lebanon? Because,
Lebanon
unfortunately, it's not happily ever after. Israel keeps on having enemies. And
1982, Israel decided to go. What happened in South Lebanon, the terrorists, the Fatah, the Al-Fatah organization, start building their forces on north border of Israel. And they call it Fatahland. It was like a state of Fatah. And they start terrorizing, and there was a lot of terror attacks in Israel. Was a case in Ma'alot, took over a class and killed children. It was terrible. So the government decided we cannot make it anymore. We need to go and destroy this Fatahland. Cannot live like that forever. And 1988, we opened the war, which started like a kind of, not actually a war. We just want to push them back like 40 kilometers from the borders. That's not going to be so. Well, it's developed to a real war. The Syrians got involved in that, and it was a real tough war. And what happened is the forces advanced in, and I went in with my soldiers, and we've been moving on the east side of Lebanon. There were two lines. One came in from the west and one came from the east. I was after the east, and there was a lake called Lake Karaun. Still, cars was in fire. Still, everything was. In this lake was even a couple of bodies. And we really was scared. We didn't know what's going around. The war was just there. I mean, you don't know. Terrorists can come from all over. So we stayed there just to get reorganized and go deeper. Suddenly, I'm seeing on a mountain across that lake, deep into the enemy's area, I hear music and singing, and like we're in Tel Aviv. I said, what the hell? Who is that? I see Chabad guys coming from the mountains with a mitzvah tank and coming to celebrate with the soldiers, drink and have Haim. This guy was out of control. I don't know what they did. They all over. In the middle of the war, they're coming from the mountain. I'm sure there was an enemy area. It couldn't be different. They were lucky, but they came in and singing and dancing. It was very nice. I mean, we like the Chabad guys a lot, so we have a blast with these kids. Just young kids. Yeah. Wasn't so responsible what they did, but was nice. So Lebanon war, when I went next time inside with our forces, my commander came to me and said, listen, Haim, we need to go on, they call it the road between Beirut and Damascus.
Yeah, Damascus. All right.
Yeah, and that was the end of the line. It was the line where we didn't go over it.
Yeah.
And we need to make there a base, a maintenance base, to take care of all the tanks around. And so he said, come to me. It was 2 o'clock in the night. Let's go together and find the location. And then go back, bring all your troops and drive them in. Is that all right? I was scared to death. This guy, my commander, on a jeep, me and him on a jeep, night dark, still fires all over, and only me and him, like, I said, you sure you know where you're going? Don't worry, I know. He didn't know nothing. Been driving at night. So you see here, I didn't see nothing. It was dark, and we drove back. And then I took all my troops. I said, hey, be careful not to get off the roads because there's mines. So be careful. You have to be only on the road. And I have about 150 trucks behind me. It's not a huge group. Trailers and all kind of stuff, and we have to be only. So I took my the doctor was sitting near me, and one of my officer was sitting near me to help me navigate, because we didn't know where we are. With a map, navigate, and take left, take right. We don't see a lot because it was dark. And after like 2-3 hours, we said, hey guys, let's stop a second. We messed up. We took the wrong turn, and we been completely in different direction. So now go, all these 150 trucks, test them around, back, and you cannot go off the road because might be mines. It took us about 3 hours, slowly. Finally, we make it to where we're supposed to stay, and a lot of stories over there also, but it was dangerous. We find out, first of all, we've been told don't go anywhere to the locals' doors, don't open doors, you don't know who's inside, might be terrorists inside, might be booby traps, be careful. I said, all right. And I have a lot of soldiers in reserve that was working in my unit. So I see in the morning 2 guys trying to break into one of the houses across the street. Been screaming, come back, come back. I was very mad. So they said, if you come back, we're going to get in trouble. They left and come back. Half an hour later, the Israeli troops come, the infantries, like the whole unit, and with loudspeakers start screaming inside, whoever is in this building, come right out. Before you know it, come like 20 Commando Syrian was in the same room. If this soldier would go in, they'd be killed no time. I mean, they came out and they put him on the ground, of course, being controlled. One of them tried to be smart and tried to run away. They make him like shoot everybody, have a gun, killed himself. But that's what happened. I mean, it was very, very dangerous. So in that place where we've been stationed, it was a Syrian home, hotel, and they have a lot of military food, like boxes. All a huge room filled up with food, with good food. And the village there was very hungry. I mean, nothing, all the war. So we said we took one of the guys that called all the village to come, we have food. Before we know, it was a line, as far as you can see, of people waiting. But it was nice, older people, kids. Yeah. We gave them boxes, nice boxes with Syrian food. They were so happy. And it wasn't easy. So one day we're sitting there, it was like a long time we've been stationed there. We didn't have any communication with home, no telephone, nothing. Not like today, we have the cell phone, you can call mommy, nothing like that. Disconnected from home. And also, we didn't know exactly what we're doing there. We're supposed to be only 40 kilometers from the border. Now we've been so deep in Lebanon. So Ariel Sharon came one morning, asked all the soldiers around in this area to come. He wanted to come to explain us why we are here. All right, he was then the Minister of Defense in this time. So we're talking and then explaining. So after he finished explaining what he wanted to say, I came to him and said, listen, Ariel Sharon, can you do me a favor? I said, yeah, what? Sure. I said, can you call my father? Tell him that I'm okay. He didn't hear from me for a long time, and I'm sure he worries. Just call him if you can. You, your secretary, somebody to call him home. Tell him everything is fine. So 12 at night, my father got a call, and he said, hello, yeah, it's Ariel Sharon. What happened with my son? He writes things that he's bad thing. No, don't worry. He said, I just saw him today, and he asked me to call you to say everything is okay, don't worry. So it was nice. He was a nice man. And I mean, there is a lot of stories in this war. It was not nice, but also, no winners in a war. Every war, people get killed, and avoid war as much as possible. It's not nice. And we lost a lot of soldiers. I lost some friends there. One of my best friends got killed. He supposed to take a group on the weekend, Friday, to take a group of people home, and he was running the bus. And as soon as they start moving, a group of terrorists come in front of the truck, of the bus, opened fire. He was the first one to get killed. I mean, they killed a couple of soldiers. They killed them after that. But you're driving in an area that is filled up with terrorists. You never know where they're coming from. They come. I mean, when you drive home, it's like 3 hours to back out of Lebanon. Tension all the way, looking around with your finger on the trigger, trying to see where it might come. It can be booby trap on the way. It can be so many things. I understand these guys now in Afghanistan, our soldiers there, I understand what they're doing perfectly. It's a lot of tension. You never know what's going to happen. Next step. It's not nice. So that's what happened in Lebanon. So people criticizing Barak, he left Lebanon just, and he looked like coward. You have to be there to understand why he did that. People got killed for no reason there. And it's not in your control even. If there is a war, you can control what you do. Here, it's not, you cannot control it.
We're out of time, Haim,
Okay.
and I want to thank you for being a first-hand account of what happened through really all the major Israeli wars. And it's easy to sit back in America. I mean, we're concerned, but okay, they won, that's great, but really what it means, and then you really end it off. I mean, people should be sensitized to the American troops. Okay, they're in Afghanistan, they're here, they're in Iraq, and even if they're not wounded and they're not killed, how much is it taking in account from them? So thank you very much for your service,
Welcome.
really on behalf of Israel, but also on all world Jewry, because Israel really holds up world Jewry also. And continue with health and good life.
Thank you so much. Thanks.